Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Damian Hill. With me, as always, is TJ O'Connor. Tonight, we have a guest in Ben Ross, who is making his return to the cage at Three Rivers Throwdown, going down in Onalaska, Wisconsin, at the Onalaska Omni Center this Saturday. Before we get into the interview, we have to go over the sponsors. Trash Talk is brought to you again by Valhalla Combat Sports, James Clark Sports Psychology and Hypnosis Therapy, the Striking Institute. I'm blanking on
tattoo.
What?
Ink Shrinks Tattoo.
Oh my God. Ink Shrinks Tattoo, the only place that has ever put ink on my body. The Fighters and TJ's mom. How you doing tonight, Ben?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I almost had a blunder there, but I guess TJ and I are doing pretty good too. We're actually only a few days out, so I do appreciate you for taking the time and doing the interview with us, especially while Fighters, the week of is usually the toughest week because that's where you have to get on weight. You're usually draining your bodies and everything, and then also preparing for the fight. So I'm glad that you're taking the time to speak with us tonight. And with that being said, how are you feeling? And how are you feeling about your weight and going into this fight?
Weight's pretty good. I don't have a ton to cut this time around. I'm going to 185, 186 is a cutoff. So, that's doable for me. It's not like a super big cut. As like when I was going to 170 or 175, that got a little bit more brutal. So I feel pretty good there. I feel loose, confident, super good shape. So I'm just ready to go Saturday.
Definitely. Yeah. And I imagine it's never a hard decision to make when you get a chance to fight at home in front of the hometown crowd. Obviously Three Rivers, an Ironworks show. But how did this fight come into play with Tom? And take us through the origins of how this all played out.
I've seen Tom around the circuits quite a bit. He's obviously fought quite a few pretty decent guys around the area. I guess I figured at one point that fight was probably going to happen just because we're both probably around the same weight class, and Tom's a formidable guy. But I don't know. Eric brought it up to me. We had that 2-year layoff and everything, and Eric said, "What do you think about Krenzel?" And I think it's a great fight. So there it is.
Oh yeah. Well, honestly, when I seen that this fight was matched up, it's one of those ones where it's a pick'em fight where I honestly I can't tell you who the fight favors, but I can definitely see how each one of you can win. Both of you guys have the potential to finish each other, and both of you guys have the cardio and the experience to go the distance. So dude, I'm really excited for this fight and for this matchup itself. Now, you said that you've seen him around on the circuit and things like that. You've already kind of thought that maybe your paths might cross. That's a reality for, all fighters. Once you start fighting locally, you start seeing all these other guys. Potential is that guy's in this weight class, one above, one below, or the same. Either way, you're in the realm of probably fighting each other. Is this one of those things where you kind of already knew a little bit about his fighting style before agreeing to the fight, and how much have you looked into his fighting style now that the fight is official?
You could say a little bit about your guy, but at the end of the day, you don't know what he's going to try and do until you're actually in there, squaring off against him, and you see whatever he's going to do. So I think for me, it's especially for this camp, it's just more about self preparation than anything, and just focusing on what I can do, what I can do right, and how I can win the fight. I haven't really been too worried about what he's going to do. It's really been more about me and what I'm going to do out there.
Yeah, and I think that's always a great approach to have, especially as you're building at this stage of your career, and focusing on yourself. Obviously, everybody is coming off of an unfortunate layoff that no one was expecting. What were some of the things you were doing to keep yourself occupied during this long layoff and stay fight ready, knowing that one of these days we're going to be able to fight again? Luckily, it's coming this Saturday.
That's awesome. Outside of my wedding last November, I haven't taken more than like 2 days off for the entire time. I was, I remember when it when it first happened, I was living by pretty close to a playground, and so I'd run over there like pretty late at night. And I was doing push-ups and pull-ups on the monkey bars, and whatever I had to do to stay active because no one was open. Shadow boxing, running, that kind of thing. Not as good, obviously, as rolling with someone. And a couple months went by, and we started getting some guys together and doing a little rolling, that kind of thing. Working out at wherever I can, but as soon as stuff was open back up, I was back to grappling and striking and doing everything that I could do.
Oh yeah, well that's one of the things that I like to hear is that fighters that were staying prepared, because when you have a long layoff, going back into and out of the cage and things like that, a layoff could give a guy time to discover how lazy they are, or the layoff could give a guy time to rebuild and refocus and come back a better fighter than what they were before. And it seems like that's one of the things that you were doing. Going into this fight with Tom, he's actually had quite a layoff as well. Is this something that you think that he's been kind of in the same mindset as you going into this fight, knowing that he's been wanting to fight for a long time as well? The shutdown happened, and now he finally has an opportunity as well.
I couldn't care less about what Tom's doing right now, to be honest with you. I'm, like I said before, I'm worried about what I'm doing, and that's been my camp, is how am I going to win this fight, and how am I going to, get on that win column, and at the end of the day, be one of the guys smiling at the end of the night. That's what it's all about.
I love it.
I'm sure he's coming out looking for the win too, no doubt about it. But I don't feel like it does me any good really to worry about what Tom's doing. I'm just worried about what Ben Ross is doing.
I love that.
And it's a great way of phrasing it. I mean, just for the fans to break the fourth wall a little bit. A lot of these interviews we do, usually the fighters are 2-3 weeks out from a potential fight. Talking to a guy on fight week, that's how you should be sounding. The opponent's irrelevant at this point in time. It's focusing on yourself and focusing on that without giving away any type of game plan, any type of strategy, anything like that. What's the one thing you have to make sure that you do bring with you, whether it's physically, mentally? What do you have to make sure you do to get your hand raised on Saturday night and hear that pop from the crowd?
Tenacity. Oh. Being the
Oh.
guy that that's getting that punch in, and bad intentions is what I like to say. Punching and kicking and kneeing with bad intentions.
Oh hell yeah, dude! I mean, that's one of the things that it's so. Oh, I'm excited about this from both of you, but like when I said in the CJ Hayes interview, because he's fighting Alfonso Bella, teammate of yours, I like both of you guys so fucking much, but I know you guys are gonna go out there and try to hurt each other. Oh my god, this is just and when you say that, it's one of those things like I know you mean it. The passion that you have for fighting is. I mean, I can hear it in your voice, and I can hear it in the fact of like you saying just how simple it is. I just need to show my tenacity. Go out there, punch him in his face, throw everything with bad intentions. What has been the motivation in this camp going through this fight? Obviously, you want to get back in there. You want to get another win. But what has been the motivation behind the layoff for Ben Ross?
I guess for me, I just think that it's, I'm not doing myself any favors by taking time off. And if I'm serious about competing in this sport, and I would say this is true of any MMA athlete, is I don't think anybody should be taking more than a couple of days off if they're serious about the sport, because at the end of the day, anybody serious, who's really going to be the who's who in the sport, they're not taking time off. So, you're either the hammer or the nail in there. Which one do you want to be? And that's my motivation.
Oh yeah, I love it, man.
It's so well phrased. It's the old adage, stay ready. You don't have to get ready. Especially in the time of fighting now, post pandemic, you do see a lot of these guys are getting their opportunities on short notice. So staying in the gym, putting that work in. Obviously, talking to you, you're extremely confident, and in no way, shape, or form are we looking past Tom. But is that the intent here? Is to get in, get this win, and just stay active after this layoff?
I'm thinking about just this fight for right now. Is kind of where my head's at. I'm not looking past Tom or anybody else. It's it's focused on this Saturday and what can happen this Saturday.
Dude, this is why we love doing interviews the week of. I mean, well, I hate doing interviews the week of for all the people that are cutting all the weight and them having to stop and answer our annoying ass questions. But you start to get the realer answers and the more raw answers. And this is one of those things where I mean, honestly, if this interview happened maybe a week ago, we probably wouldn't have the same energy because people have asked me before leading up to a fight, a week out, 2 weeks out, are you ready? Are you ready? When I was younger and earlier in my fight career, I used to always say, yeah, and I'd pretend to get pumped. Nowadays, I say, yeah, it's like, oh, you don't sound ready. I'm like, well, who gives a fuck? I'm not ready right now. I'm not. I'm not ready today. I'm not ready tomorrow. I will be ready on the day I agreed to fight. That's the only time. And only got to be ready for a certain amount of time. So leave me alone with all that other BS. You get real answers the week of the fight. I really love that. And now going into this fight, the thought process behind a victory, a lot of fighters say that they like to visualize themselves winning. They like to walk themselves through the fight and think about all those things. I kind of just want to know, like, what do you think you have to do, or what do you think you have to bring to guarantee you get your hand raised? And how do you see yourself winning if you had to pick away without giving away too much of a game plan as well?
I'm always visualizing, especially this close to fight camp. It's thinking about different things that he might do, thinking about things that I can do and how I can be ready and how I can counter. I believe a lot in visualization for the sport, and I think it's just about being in control of my emotions in there and controlling the pace of the fight for me. That's going to be key, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I love it. Like I said, the intensity, I can feel it through the phone. If you haven't got your tickets yet, I don't know what you're doing. For the select amount of people out there that have yet, they might be living under a rock and they just got Wi-Fi today, so they might not know about it. Tell them why they need to be in the building on September 11th to watch you fight.
We've got 17 fights lined up. It's one of the first big cards in the area, for sure, as far as, since for 2 years ago. So, you want to gather with people and get a glimpse of what life might have been like 2 years ago. That's a pretty good reason right there, I think. Other than that, I think the River Throwdown never fails to put on a good show. There's always great knockouts, always great submissions, and some pretty bloody wars in there. So that's to me the reason that you should go, is if any of that stuff interests you and you want a great sporting event that you've never been to before, right? Versus, the classic football or baseball games, or basketball or whatever else people typically go see a sport that to me is as primal as humanly possible. I think that as far as what a sport is, mano a mano, there's really no greater example of that than boxing, wrestling, or MMA.
Oh yeah. I don't even have a question, so I'm going to pass this off to TJ after I make this statement. But the 2 years off, this interview that we just did with you right now, I mean, dude, I can see and hear a different Ben Ross right now. I'm excited to see the evolution that you've made in this 2 years off, and to see where your mind is at right now, dude, I just got that much more excited for this fight. This is amazing.
Yeah, no, this fight is going to be bonkers. It's the co-main event, Three Rivers Throwdown 17, this Saturday, September 11th, Onalaska, Wisconsin, at the Onalaska Omni Center, co-main event. But before I wrap it up, Ben, I always want to give you the platform to thank any teammates, sponsors, anybody outside the gym that's been there for you during this long break leading up to this fight. The platform is yours, sir.
Yeah, I would just thank my teammates, the people that we put in camp with. It was a really great camp. I think that everybody from Ironworks is ready to go out there and put on a show and get their hand raised. So when you have that kind of an environment, I think that it helps everybody out. So, thanking my teammates for a great camp, and my dog Yuka, I got to say my cardio is going to be on point. We've been running hard, and those Huskies are a force to be reckoned with in terms of cardio. So other than that, my coaches, you know who you are. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I'm excited. Sorry, TJ.
No, I was going to say September 11th, that's your co-main event. Ben Ross, thank you for your time, sir. if you're watching the video, like this video, subscribe to Trash Talk with Damian and TJ, and most importantly, do not be a hoe.